once we see the bus, hold down A, and when you start to see Hoka go tea time, when you start to get rolling, then just start moving to the left.
Will do. Which Terry Pratchett book was that with Mr. Tia Tima? That was tea
Tia
time.
Time?
Oh, I don't know.
That was Hogfather, wasn't it?
Oh, I think you're right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, Terry Pratchett left us too soon.
The reason I remember that so well is because the BBC did a production of it.
Oh yeah.
And they, I mean, it was good. It wasn't great, but it was good, and it was very interesting to see how they did Susan.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or,
Everyone is saying Hogfather.
Yeah.
I need to read those books. I just found, like, I see them on Kathleen's bookshelf.
Yeah.
And there's like 4 million of them,
Yeah,
and I
right.
just freeze.
That's fair.
And like she said, pick one. You can pick literally anyone and get into them. They're not sequential. They're easy to read.
They are extremely chronological, unfortunately.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that's the rough thing. Is that
okay.
You can pick a subset of them and say, I just want to read these, and there's a whole reading universe online. I think it's called N-Space.
Okay.
And that is a thing where it's like, if you want to read just the stuff that has only the wizards in it, or just the stuff that really has only the witches, or the ones that are only based on the Watch, or that kind of thing, it's like, here is the subsection of ones you should read, and here's the order you should read them in, because like any other living world, it evolves over time.
Okay.
And if you read ones that are later in the series, it will refer to stuff that exists and not be clear about what it is or why it exists. But you can always go back and read about how that came to be.
Yeah.
But I mean, I read them completely in order, not as they came out, but more like I came into it very late, but I read them in order, and I found that even though it was kind of a rough slog getting maybe through the first 10 that are very like all over the place, once he starts writing more, he starts connecting things between other books, and it starts to feel like this massive web of things.
Okay.
Because
So it's the home stretch of books.
Kinda, yeah.
The last book series I was able to read was the Culture series, and there's only 8 of those books.
Oh, good.
And
oh, good.
I was like, just grab the one on the left and like, okay, I'm gonna be okay. It'll be fine. I'll just read this one, and that's fine. I don't have to stare at all these unread books that I now have commitment to.
Yeah.
And I look at Discworld and I'm like, I can't. Like it makes me feel like the walls are closing.
The probably the safest. Somebody actually mentions this. Fred Not Bob. I see this goes by. Tiffany Aching. So you don't have to know a lot about, because Terry Pratchett wrote 5 novels that take place in it's the Tiffany Aching series, and it has to do with the witches of Discworld. But he brings you to them through this young girl named Tiffany Aching, who she lives in Lancre.
Okay.
Is the name of one of the is a small rural area, and she is going to learn to be a witch. Essentially, she's kind of has the gift to do it, but she also is she's loved by the tiny rural fairy folk, which you should never call fairy folk, the wee free men, the Nakmakfeegle, and they are the most violent little. They're so good, and they're just angry, and they love to drink, and they love to fight, and they love her so much, and they're scared out of their minds for of her.
Right.
And so if you want 5 novels to read, that's like, I want to just go from one end to the other and watch this character grow. That's 5 novels. It's perfect. And it doesn't dip you in any of the other major stuff. You can just kind of like put your toe in and be like, did I like this? Yeah, it's good.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I can do that.
And they're young adult novels too, so they're easy
Just
and
like
fast reads.
Couple hours each.
Probably, I think they're about 300 pages long, roughly each.
Couple hours
so,
each.
Yeah, couple hours probably.
Good Omens, the book you wrote with Neil Gaiman, is a good way into it too, because it's sort of Neil makes it a little darker and a little more serious, but you can still hear Terry Pratchett in there, and that's a fantastic standalone book if you haven't read it.
It has nothing to do with Discworld, but it is a really good.
It has one character from Discworld.
Oh, I may be forgetting. Oh my God!
It has
basically everyone whose opinions I care about is like, Terry Pratchett was amazing. Discworld books are great. You would really like them
because they're fun.
And then I ask, like, oh, where should I start? And opinions occur.
Right.
Yeah.
I just told Heather, like when she was thinking about doing it, I just said, pick up the very first one he ever wrote. It's
Okay, yeah, like go chronological.
Yeah, pick up the first one. When you're done the first one, pick up the second one, because interestingly enough, the second one's a sequel to the first one, like directly, essentially.
Okay.
Then you'll read the third one, and you'll be like, oh, this is the same character, but it's different setting, and then you'll start to see how it just kind of starts to spread out.
Just does this.
Yeah. So it's
That's good.
yeah, it was good. The Color of Magic and I can't remember the other name. It doesn't really matter. Anyway,
Actually, yeah,
The
I'm
Light
gonna try-
Fantastic, I think.
I'm going to try
is the second.
chronological.
Yeah.
I'll do what I did with the culture books and just read chronologically.
It's the
great.
simplest.
Because I
Yeah.
need to read the culture books too, because you make them sound very, very interesting.
Am I adding another
They're
book?
full of neat ideas, and Ian M. Banks took a couple of decades to find his writing chops. IMO.
Okay.
The first ones are longer than they need to be.
Okay.
They're very interesting and full of cool ideas.
Okay.
Yeah. There's
What's it
another
called?
another good suggestion. There is Small Gods is a true Discworld novel that is a standalone, and that's because he does take a while to develop his voice.
Yeah.
And it's good if you So I'd recommend Small Gods as the first toe-in to Discworld.
Okay.
And there's a couple that aren't as good as the rest of them either.
I mean, that happens,
That happens, right?
right? The culture novels, Andre, are Ian M. Banks' science fiction. I'm doing the Don Cherry thing. There is a science fiction series about a science fiction universe in which he wanted to live. Basically, he created his utopian universe and sets adventures in it, and it's really wonderful. And it is the culture, which is the like radically free society he sets his stories in, is governed by the most wonderful interpretation of artificial intelligence you'll ever encounter.
Ooh.
Because they love us and they want us to be happy, and that occupies maybe 0.1% of their time. They're like, oh yeah, we figured out your happiness really early on. It's fine, we got that handled.
We're gonna take
It's
care of the rest.
predictable.
Yeah, you're not that hard to figure out.
That's amazing.
Meanwhile, hold on, we're holding stars together right now. So
Excuse me.
yeah, I'm a culture mind. We are like gods, and on the far side.